Hello, I'm Joachim Duplessis. Welcome to the HTS Epoll. It's your opportunity to weigh in on the most pressing issues of the day. St. Lucia faces demographic challenges with a declining birth rate, prompting discussions on supporting families. One proposed solution is expanded state backed daycare services. Affordable daycare could alleviate financial burdens on families, enabling them to consider having more children. Quality daycare services would also allow parents to balance work and family life more easily, potentially encouraging larger family sizes. However, implementing and sustaining such a program would require significant funding. Some worry about the feasibility of maintaining these services during economic downturns. Investing in daycare services could have long term benefits for families and the economy. So we asked, do you think expanded state backed daycare services would encourage St. Lucians to have more children? We took to the streets to get your opinion, and here is what you had to say.
No, because daycare is not the answer. Jobs is better than thinking of taking a child to daycare, because as a mother I can be taking my child to daycare, which is properly funded by government, and when my child returns home I have nothing to give the child. So here, daycare with a job, not just daycare. That's not the answer.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, I think if the government gave us it, which mean a lot of young people thinking that if they have their children and they just get a work where they will put their children when they have to go and do their work. So I think that will be a good thing.
Yes, I think it will. But sometimes when I really think, go way back in growing up. I think probably maybe we don't even know what we want or what we're asking for. Because I remember in my time, very young going to school, some children would come to school and comments would be made by certain teachers. Mama zat kafe waden, mama ikon waden. It's like too many children. And now it's a different story. Parents now are careful as to how they go about, they brought in family planning. Everybody, they was hot on family planning. So for now, first to be wanting that, I'm like, wow, what a difference. But put all things aside, I think it's a very good idea. The daycare, the state-funded daycare it is, I think that would be a good thing. So persons would not be afraid because they know that there would be a place they could leave their child until they finish their day's work for safety.
Sometimes over 400 used or new vehicles have been sold in a month time. And you tell me don't populate your nation? We, on both sections, ale tous les decide là, te gratte charisma nou fwe nou pa populate nation nan. It's not the daycare, it's how you handle the daycare. We don't need no daycare. So in the long time situation, in the 50s or 60s, I'm being made, I'm over 50. I got children was being made. But from the time when this thing was pronounced that we cannot populate our nation, how our nation will grow?
I think to a certain extent it would assist. But when it comes to one making a decision to have a child based on the government funding, in my opinion, I don't think it's sufficient. It would alleviate the pressure of one on their pockets, for one. When it comes to those amenities, you take your child to the daycare, at least you wouldn't have to pay. I'm hoping this one would be out of it. But in my opinion, I don't think that's sufficient for one to have a child, to make a decision to have a child right now. You will still have to give attention to the health of that child, medicals, even at home, just family structure on a day-to-day basis. So I do not think that in itself is sufficient for one to make a decision to have a child.
Well, I would say to a certain extent, but a lot of more things are needed, especially the cost of living, the family structure, the medicals. Yeah, what about those as well? I believe a lot more is needed to encourage persons to have more children.
Okay, I believe a state-funded daycare would assist because that would then ease on the cost for parents, because parents and having it takes a village to raise a child. Not just one parent can afford to raise a child. Having a child is very expensive, and a population decline across the world is quite common because people are realizing that the cost of living and having children with that is very difficult. So it could ease the cost financially, because finances are big problems and big burdens for families, and they cause so many issues amongst families. So, you know, easing that pressure and taking that off the parents for them to have to pay for could assist, and they might feel, okay, so if we do have a child, we don't have to worry about the daycare or problems like that. So yeah, potentially it could have an impact.
The daycare will not assist. Okay? The daycare is there to help the people that's already born. But the problem is children are not getting born. It's not conducive for some solution to actually go and say, I'm gonna have a baby. Because you have a baby right now, before that child turns 18, you spend over $1 million already. People are not gonna have children because it's too expensive. Okay? Plus the water is making sure they don't have children.
Pour la vérité, no amount of money will be able to do better for the children, because the children have a mind of their own. So nothing, it's better that people don't have kids anymore. If you have 2 kids, fine, and forget about any other more. So that doesn't make no sense. It will not help in any way.
Yeah, I think to some extent it will help. Yeah, because the things in the supermarket, the Pampers, the baby milk, everything concerning babies and children are very expensive. So I think that one will help parents who have more children if things are easier on their side. As a parent that not even have children going to school, I can feel it. So if, to some extent, I think it will help.
Now to our new discussion. The United States claims its expanded military presence in the Southern Caribbean targets drug cartels and arms smugglers, destabilizing the region. American officials cite interdiction statistics, seized narcotics, disrupted trafficking routes, weakened criminal networks. But operations include kinetic strikes on suspected vessels, resulting in dozens of deaths without judicial process. This occurs alongside Washington's bounty on Venezuelan's President Nicolas Maduro for narco-terrorism, suggesting motives beyond pure counter-narcotics work. Caribbean states acknowledge the trafficking problem, but question foreign military solutions that contradict CARICOM's Zone of Peace declaration. So we ask, do you think Washington's military actions in the South Caribbean are justified? Remember, our Epoll team is always on the go to get your responses as well. Watch the HTS News Force from 7 p.m. for the results and a new discussion.